Come on in, you guys. Welcome back to another Jimmy on Clubhouse. And this week is gonna be fun because I am doing a 7-day water fasting challenge right here on Jimmy on Clubhouse over on Instagram Live. And I'm doing this challenge over on the Clubhouse page. So I've been telling you a lot about Clubhouse lately. We're using this platform a lot in my work, and I try to bring you guys in here since I realize Clubhouse is not everywhere just yet. So if you're an Android user or if you're waiting to get onto the Clubhouse platform because you haven't gotten an invitation, I try to do these here just for you so you can also participate in the content. And so if you have not heard, I have decided to do a 7-day fast publicly. I did one in July last year, and it failed miserably for me. So I think I failed right around the 30-hour mark. I had to bail because the stress was just so much. So I see Norma is gung-ho ready to go. She says, hello, let's go. Come on in, guys. We're about to start the Clubhouse room. So this is where I'm going to go live here in just a moment, interact with the people there. So I'm noticing when I do the Jimmy on Clubhouse here, the simulcast, a lot of you guys don't feel like you can participate. Do know that I'm looking at your comments as well. While you can't talk live and I hear your voice like I do on Clubhouse, I still want to read your comments. Like Kathy just says, she's ready. Yeah, we're all ready. Thank you, Norma. I'm happy to do this. So please do give your feedback as you hear the content. Please give your feedback, and I will scroll through and read your comments so that Clubhouse sees your comments as well. I have a feeling I'm going to have a lot of people on this today, and I did invite in a lot of like medical professionals and other people that are into fasting to join me. I don't know how many of them will be able to, but they'll be able to add some moxie to some of the things that I'll be talking about. So thank you for being here. We're going to get started here in a couple minutes. I guess while I have you here, if you have anything you want to say, is anybody else doing this? I know, Norma, you're doing it. Kathy says, I'm ready. Anybody else on here? I see Kitty Cat Smith, who is one of the regulars over on Clubhouse, also joined here. Any of you doing this currently, or you're just kind of feeling this out? What's this thing about? I want to hear what you have to say. Tell me a little bit about what's going on. So Norma, what hour are you in on your fast? And same for anybody else. So I am currently, when 1:30 hits, that will be 28 hours. So I actually started yesterday morning. It was so funny because I wasn't planning on starting the fast yesterday morning, but I had a nice egg cooked in grass-fed butter meal with some mozzarella cheese, and I ate that, and the rest of the day I was completely satisfied. I was not hungry, so I thought, okay, well, we'll just make this the beginning of the fast. So 10:30 yesterday morning was when I started. So I'm coming up on 28 hours of fasting, and I'm feeling all the things that you would normally feel at this point in the fast. Hello, Kim. Thanks for being here. Norma says she's 22 hours in. So yes. Yeah, so Norma, you're feeling a little bit what I'm feeling, kind of late in the fast of kind of a day one going into day two. It does start to get tricky, but come on in, guys. If you're joining late, this is Jimmy on Clubhouse. I'm about to go live over on Clubhouse. And if you haven't heard, I'm doing a 7-day water fasting challenge. In fact, I should add the word water so that they know that's what I'm doing. And that's what I'm advocating. So let's do that. All right, there it is. 7-day water fasting challenge. I love how easy it is to change things on there. So, all right, guys, come in. Thank you so much for being here. This is going to be a lot of fun. Please, please, please engage in the content. Don't think that just because I'm on Clubhouse that I'm ignoring you. I definitely want to hear what you have to say, and I will read your comments on the air. All right, let's get this show on the road, and let's start the room. Come on in, guys. We're going to start this wonderful Clubhouse room all about fasting, so make yourselves at home. Come on in. 7 days of water fasting. Holy crap. I'm sure some people, they hear fasting and they go, what? And so I wanted to lead here my first ever 7-day fast on Clubhouse. I talk about fasting all the time in my work, and I've invited on a lot of people in my sphere of influence here on Clubhouse, like Lindsay. Hello, Lindsay. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Jimmy. Hi, Judith. How are you all doing? And everyone in the audience, great to see you.
Yeah, I'm afraid to talk to Judy when she shows up because I know she's at work. She can't always talk, so... Right, Judy? That's her way of saying, shush. Thank you, ma'am. So yeah, Lindsay, thank you for being here. And so, guys, welcome. Thanks for being here. You have not entered the wrong room. Yes, we still talk about keto, but I think one of the fun parts about keto is you run into kind of a spontaneousness to want to fast, and that's kind of the cool thing. And then with that spontaneity, you go, well, how long can I go without eating? Like, could it be days? Could I actually do that? And so that's what we're going to find out this week. I am currently, you guys, as of right now, 28 hours into my fast. I went ahead and got started so that I could experience and then give you feedback on what's to come for those of you that are fasting. Lindsay, are you fasting with me, or are you just going to contribute?
I'm fasting with you.
Woohoo! When did you start?
5 o'clock last night.
So you're in the deep throes of approaching 24 hours yourself. And like literally day one is so easy because that's called keto. We normally kind of intermittent fast naturally anyway, right?
Yep, day one. Day one is the easiest typically. Although your mindset can get you like, you can't think too many steps ahead. You got to stay present in the moment.
Yes.
Try to eat the whole elephant and think about what's coming. No, just take it one step at a time.
Exactly. And that's what happened to me yesterday because I ate that. I had my backyard chicken eggs, which are very nutrient dense, cooked them in grass-fed butter, and then I put mozzarella cheese on it. I ate that at 10:30 and was finished by 10:30 yesterday. And I'm going the rest of the day, I'm not really hungry. Why would I force food? Let me go ahead and, quote, start the fast retroactively, which I did. And I'm glad because I'm still doing pretty well. I see Dr. Caitlin just showed up. Hello, Caitlin.
Hello.
We're talking about one of your favorite subjects, my dear.
I see that. I'm super excited to learn from you all, and maybe I can shed a little bit of light too.
Yes, and so you do a lot of regular fasting yourself. What is it you do? Do you do a 1 week every couple of months? Is that what you said the other day?
Yeah, I typically will do like a 1 week every 3 or 4 months.
Yes. Yeah, when I say couple, yeah, more than a couple. Once a quarter, basically, or kind of 3 or 4 times a year. Yeah.
Yep, pretty much. I like to think of it as like seasonally. So
yes.
As like the seasons change, it's nice to just clean things out from the past season and start fresh.
Absolutely, absolutely. So guys, if you're just joining us, you are in the Keto for the Soul room. Click on that little house at the top, the greenhouse next to the name of the room, and please join. I am very active in this room. I love Keto for the Soul. Judy knows I am all in doing all of my content here, and I love engaging with all of you guys. So if you have questions and you're joining us in this fast, I want to hear every day this week. We're going to go live at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. So literally today through Sunday, if you're doing this fast with us and you're having trouble or you just want to comment, oh my God, I didn't know, anything. We want to hear the feedback. And I've got several of my friends up here, Lindsay and Caitlin, to offer their expertise as well. But I got to tell you, like day one, like Lindsay was saying, it's easy because if you're used to intermittent fasting, then this is a cinch. And let me just tell you, and I see Dax just came in the room. Hello, Dax. I'll let you say hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. So Dax...
We're all in the middle of wondering what's going to happen next.
Yes. So Dax is a fasting expert as well, that has done a lot of them. In fact, Dax, I saw that you're going to be leading your own support system for fasting coming up at 5 p.m. Eastern today.
Yeah, that's right, Jimmy. I'm just going to have an open room if anybody wants to join and talk about some of the initial effects of, when you open a fast and what you can expect the first few days.
Yeah.
That's, as we all know, that's generally the most concerning for people. Once you get past 3-4 days, you're pretty good to go.
So guys, if you're just joining us, we are talking about a 7-day water fasting challenge. And I think where to start is maybe you're intimidated hearing 7 days. And let me just tell you, don't be intimidated by the goal. The 7 days is a goal. It's not a failure if you only make it 2 days, only make it 4 days. Get that out of your mind. And I can tell you, I've led a lot of these fasts online. I'm also live over here on the Jimmy on Clubhouse Instagram page. And my old show was called Jimmy Rants. And I used to do these guided fasts over there. And people that said they only intermittent fasted by 16 hours a day, they wanted to try to push themselves. And then like somebody there goes 36 hours. Whoa! Like they just radically increase their fasting period. Some people that have done 48 hours, they then were able to go 4 or 5 days. So wherever you are in your journey, if you've never tried to push yourself on a fast just to see how you'll do, it's definitely worth trying. And there's uniqueness with each of the days, which is why I want to go live on all of these days. So what do you think, Lindsay, we'll go to you. What do you think kind of is one of the major challenges besides the mental aspect of, oh my God, I'm about to go on a starvation diet? What are some of those mental challenges you think that prevent people from even starting?
I think the overwhelm and also the conditioning that we've been raised that we're doing a disservice to our body when we take food out of the equation, that we're going to muscle waste, that our body's just going to start eating all of our own muscle.
Yes.
And that is actually very untrue. And if you think about historically, when there was feast-famine cycles, naturally, we didn't have an overabundance or a grocery store on every corner. We had to go out and get our food. And so actually our body has this amazing mechanism that when we fast, we actually increase those ketones, we use that fat, and it is sparing to our muscles. So actually one way to preserve muscle is to fast.
Ironically, right? Because people think, oh my gosh, and that's a big point, Caitlin. People go on a fast and they feel that maybe first little twinge of what we will call the waves of hunger, because there are waves of hunger in there. And they think, oh my gosh, it's just going to get more and more intense and intense and intense and intense. And that's not what happens at all.
No, it doesn't. And I think what the quote unquote hunger is something that we should actually talk about.
Yes.
I don't actually think people know what hunger truly feels like nowadays. It's more habit. Like we're in a habit as to, you know, what do we start our day with? At what time? What time do we have lunch? What time do we have dinner? We're in routines. And so I actually don't think majority of people truly know what hunger feels like versus, oh, it's time to eat, or, ooh, I haven't eaten in a while, I really should eat.
Yeah, and a lot of times what they think is hunger is actually thirst. And to that end, you guys, when you come to the room, the fasting room this week with me at 1:30 Eastern time, you better have a glass of water, and you better have, and I've got both of these next to me, you better have a bowl of some salt. I have the Redmond's Real Salt, and literally whenever I need a jolt of energy or I kind of feel sluggish or I start to get, quote, hungry, I take a pinch of that salt, stick it under my tongue, and then I get a glass of water and take a sip. I have a fun little saying. You remember that beer commercial, Dilly Dilly? So I say Dilly Dilly, and then I drink my... That is so good, man. Especially when you get deep in a fast. That's going to be so good. But it's literally just that easy. And I know you're like, okay, but this seems so hard. But why is it hard? And you're right, Caitlin, like distinguishing the difference between kind of that head hunger, that eating by the clock. This is why eating keto going into kind of an extended fast is so critical, because you set your body up for success, Dax, when you're able to be fat adapted and not really think about food until you get true hunger to kick.
Well, you know, Jimmy, true hunger is something that most people have never experienced. I hate to say that.
True.
in our society, but when you get to the end of a fast and your body is telling you that you're actually hungry, you need to heed that hunger at that time. It's just, it becomes important to nourish the body. It's done doing what repair I think it's going to do. So.
Yeah. So guys, if you're just joining us, you have stumbled into the room where we're talking about water fasting. So if this is intriguing to you, definitely raise your hand. This is day number 1 officially with the challenge. We're going to go all the way through Sunday at 1:30 p.m. will be my last update. But if you haven't even started yet and you want to join us, this is open to everyone. So please, if you want to join, just join and come in every day. Everyone on stage has lots of experience with fasting, all the moderators. So definitely follow everyone up here and get lots of knowledge. I did write a book about this subject called The Complete Guide to Fasting by this guy. You might have heard of him somewhere before, Dr. Jason Fung. He's one of the preeminent fasting doctors in the world. And he and I actually met him at a conference. We shared the stage in South Africa, and after he was done talking about fasting, I went up to him and I said, is there a good book on like extended fasting and how to do it and da-da-da? He said, no. I said, want to write one? So that's literally how the book came about. I was already established with Keto Clarity and other best-selling books. So anyway, I have a lot of knowledge and experience on this. The longest fasts I've ever been on are 3 21-day fasts. I don't think you necessarily have to go that long. You could probably get most of the benefits from intermittent fasting for most people, but then some of us who do tend to have a little more insulin resistance, it can be challenging, which is one of the benefits. You'll increase your insulin sensitivity. You can lower inflammation. If you're a type 2 diabetic, I had a lady on Facebook today, Lindsay, that's a type 2 diabetic and said, oh, I can't fast. I have type 2 diabetes. I'm like, no, you're the one that needs to fast.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's a great way to regulate that blood sugar and bring it down to those levels that are more acceptable and usable for the body. It is a great way to get into those deep healing at the cellular level, for sure.
Yeah, and there's this big A word everybody talks about when you talk about extended fasting. You get small amounts of autophagy, Caitlin, when you do intermittent fasting, but it's getting over 3 days of extended fasting where you really get that deep cleaning up of the cells. Can you briefly explain autophagy, Caitlin?
I love autophagy.
I know you do.
Start around 18 hours of intermittent fasting. The problem is there's no real way for us to test it. So research is saying that it starts around day 18 and it continues to increase and it hits its maximum right around, 3 days, 72 hours, or 50, anywho. And so what autophagy is it literally means to self-eat. And although that doesn't sound glamorous, it doesn't sound like that's something that we should actually be doing. What it's doing is it's getting rid of the cells that are no longer functioning. They're not performing the function that they are meant to do. And those old, worn out, dead senescent cells can become problematic. 1, they take up space. 2, they increase our weight because they're there doing nothing. And they also have the capability, not saying that it will, but it has the capability of turning into a bad cell. So it could either turn cancerous, or it can start to perform functions or turn on genes that are unwanted. So really what autophagy does is when our body goes, oh wait, we don't have any food coming in, we still need energy for our heart to beat, our lungs to breathe, our brain still needs to function. Okay, let's go in and let's start burning up and cleaning up these cells that are no longer functioning. And so it's really an amazing way to ultimately do a really good spring clean on the body, getting rid of these cells that are no longer functioning.
And there's no surgery or drug that does it near like fasting does.
Well, there's no surgery or drug that actually does it.
That's right.
So, yeah.
So it's amazing because people, they don't even know about all the kind of dead proteins that are just floating around in the body. I'm just curious, Caitlin or Lindsay, either one of you want to answer this. What happens if you leave those old dead cell proteins just floating around in there and they never get cleaned up. How does that manifest physically in your body?
It can manifest so differently in every single person. So
Yep.
it can speed up aging. It can cause hormone resistance. It can cause inflammation. It absolutely will increase your systemic inflammation. It can cause organs to start to dysfunction, so not function properly. Not saying diseased, I'm just saying they're not functioning ideally. It literally can cause anything, and it's going to look different in everybody. That's the problem.
Yeah, it mucks up the blood for sure, and we want to try to clean that up. And so I know that a lot of people that have loose skin, I know Dr. Fung and I talked about this in our book, if you have kind of loose skin after you lose weight, it helps to clean up some of that as well. It's not going to be a miracle worker if you have a lot of that, but it can definitely help tighten that up as well. So just trying to give you incentives, you guys that are listening right now, as to why you might want to do this. So Dax, what are the primary reasons why you do fasting?
Well, primarily, actually, I listed one of them on my Instagram post today, and that's the fact that I tend to go a period of time with a modern lifestyle, so to speak. Too many dinners, too many parties, too many, Buffalo Wild Wings with your friends. And so eventually, I will get to a point where I feel internally, mentally, spiritually like I need a cleansing.
Yes.
And that is, that's the primary reason I do it. I've made a commitment to myself to start like with this 7. I really appreciate you getting me involved in this, the timing of this, because this will keep me on down the road, keep me more consistent with this. But I plan on doing a 7-day fast every seasonal change going forward.
Nice.
It's just, it's good house cleaning. You do spring cleaning, right, in the spring? So do some spring cleaning in your body.
Now, I'll tell you guys, I tried to do a fast last year in the midst of the pandemic, and I was very stressed, and I was also dealing with a personal issue, which I'm still dealing with, but better now than I was last year. And it crashed and burned on me, Lindsay. I totally was like, 7 days. 30 hours in, I'm going to, no, I have to stop. And I think it's okay to make a goal, and then if life is a little complicated, give yourself that grace. What do you say, Lindsay?
Absolutely. I was in the same boat. I tried to fast multiple times longer, and I think it was difficult for me. And I think a lot of that had to do with what we were dealing with globally and in our own lives. All of a sudden I had to not only do my own work, but then I had to somehow learn how to homeschool my child and entertain her and also be her counselor through all of this. And many other parents, I know I'm not alone, but for everyone, we all had our own challenges. And so, there's a right time to do it. If you are overly stressed, that's not the right time. And that could be for many different ways, mental, emotional, and physical stressors. The body perceives it all as the same. And so being in a state where you know that you will be able to have some self-care through your fasting, especially an extended period of time, is important. Sometimes the weekend, if you wanted to do, say, a 24-hour 24, 48-hour, whatever, the weekend's a great time to get started so that you can get over the hump of the hardest part. So sometimes I will start like on a Friday and go through the weekend, and sometimes it's easier to pick that back up. Depends on everyone's situation. I also find it easier to start at lunchtime, much what you did, Jimmy. And maybe if I have a little hunger later in the evening, I go to bed early. Those sort of things are little tips and tricks that you can use to be successful.
Yeah, there was a method to the madness behind my timing, because I know from past experience where my hard part is around hour 36 to 38. And I go, okay, it's getting hard. So guess what I'll be doing, Lindsay? I'll be in bed.
Yes.
So that over time, as you do this, Caitlin, the more you do these fasts, the more you kind of notice, all right, when do I struggle the most? All right, let's time it so that when I'm in that, quote, struggle, I'm actually not going to struggle because I'm out like a light.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And the other thing that I find too is it's easier to do block fasts
Yes.
when you're busy.
Yes.
So when you have things to do to keep you going, whether it's work or a hobby or, a kid's, whatever it may be, people tend to have a much easier time with doing those extended fasts versus, just sitting around the entire time. Like for me personally, I like to do my fast from just kind of like what you did, Sunday night through the following Sunday. I don't want to be doing extra weekend hours because the weekend hours I tend to take more self-time, which when there's more self-time, there tends to be more I want to eat time.
Yes.
So you just got to figure out what works for you.
Yeah, when I was writing my part of the Complete Guide to Fasting, I fasted because it redeemed time. So I had more time to write. I also, and this is like the appreciated part of fasting, you guys. You might think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have such brain fog. I'm going to feel bad. Maybe day 2, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. But my brain was so clear. It was firing on all cylinders. I mean, I had such clarity of thought. I think some of the things I thought of would not have come to mind had I not been in this really ketotic state induced by the longer fasting. Is that your experience, Dax?
Absolutely, Jimmy. When you reach the point where your initial, let's call it false hunger, goes away, your body starts to understand that it's in maintenance mode.
Yes.
And you were talking about autophagy. The way I've heard it mentioned is it's like turning your oven into cleaning mode. And so it heats up real hot. It's burning off the debris and the dust. And autophagy also, it will help burn bacteria, viruses, things in your body that you're trying to get rid of, and then proceed to remove those additionally to whatever other toxins you have in your body. But along with that, you'll start to achieve a mental clarity that you may have not had in a very long time. And to your point about writing a book, that's actually a great time to be doing that. That was good on you for thinking of that.
Oh, and then it's become the template from then on. It's like when I'm writing, I get that extra time because I don't have to cook, and I get to save money. So fasting is the only diet that puts money back in your pocket. It's kind of interesting. And then people that say, I can't afford to buy grass-fed. Oh, you can if you implement some periods of fasting and you save the money from that day's food and then allocate it to the better quality food. There's always a way. There's always a way. So let's reset the room. Keto for the Soul is where you're in. Click on that green house at the very top. And you're in the 7-day water fasting challenge, day number 1. And I decided to lead this publicly here. I had a lot of people say, hey, I don't really know how to fast or do it for a long time. I got a lot of questions. So we got a lot of fasting experts up here. Definitely raise your hand if you want to talk about this. Have you started on your own 7-day fast, at least attempting a 7-day fast? Come on up, share your experience. Let's hear about it. We'll get to you guys here in just a moment. One thing that I want to underscore is there are so many different types of fasting. Okay, so bone broth is popular. I even know some people use the bulletproof coffee and still call themselves fasting. There's even terminology, and I hate that they do this, Lindsay. Egg fast, fat fast. Those aren't technically fasting because if there's calories in it, that's not technically a fast. But what I'm promoting here is a water and salt fast because I think it streamlines the process. It prevents the hunger from coming on because even a little bit of nutrition of any kind can stoke hunger. Do you concur with that, Lindsay?
Absolutely. You know what? Those gateways, when I tried them, it's the floodgate that opens. It didn't work for me. Those bridges just opened the floodgate to the appetite increasing, and I failed.
Yeah, same. And I think it was the protein in the bone broth that I ate. And I was silly enough, Caitlin, to do kombucha as well. What was I thinking? My goodness. Like that, you need sugar in kombucha to make but I thought I needed it for gut health, and all it did was give me diarrhea.
Yeah. Well, when you're not eating
Yes.
And you're drinking essentially sugary tea with some ferment.
That's right.
It's gonna stir up the bowels. And so, I think when you start talking about fasting, it's like, what is your goal? I know some people, and I will use bone broths with certain people, especially if they have, gut disbalance, like they have an overgrowth in their gut. Bone
Right.
broth is really great to help with that. But I find a lot of times people with insulin resistance, they really struggle doing bone broth because it is creating some of that hunger hormone. And so it's literally, it drives them crazy while they're doing it. So
Yes.
they have an easier time doing water fasts, myself too. If I'm going to do a bone broth, I can only do it for 2 days, and then by 2 days, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm switching straight to water because I just can't handle the smell, the taste
Oh, yeah.
of the bone broth anymore.
Yeah, and truth be told, if you need something that kind of mimics a broth, putting some salt in some warm water and like drinking it, even like kind of making it like a soup, it's so therapeutic. It's so good. Guys, salt is going to be your elixir on this fast. Please do not undersalt because you will be so glad, and make sure you're hydrating plenty. Just imagine extended fasting is like a hyperdrive keto, because especially by like day 3, 4, you're going to be so deep into ketosis. Blood sugar is going to go so far down in a healthy way. You're going to feel good, but it's going to be on the blood marker pretty low. You're going to need to replenish those things. Now, Dax, one of the kind of misconceptions that people have is, oh, this is just a starvation diet, and so I'm starving myself. No, starvation is you don't have availability to eat because the food's not there, and so you can't eat. No, there's food availability. I've got food in my refrigerator right now, just like 10 feet away from me. If I wanted to walk in there and grab the food and eat, I could, but you're choosing not to do it. But truth be told, Dax, you are eating. You're eating your stored body fat.
Yeah, that's right, Jimmy. The hunger that people think they're feeling is basically they're slowly running out of stored glucose. And when they do that, the body is recognizing that it's going into a conservation state, and it's going to have to switch over to burning, fatty acids and ketone bodies for energy instead of the stored glucose that it's running out of. It will recognize that that's what's going on. It will know that that's what it's supposed to do. It's built to do that. But it's that transition where you're running out of the stored energy, just the quick energy, that you're feeling the hunger, you're feeling like you're going to starve to death. But you just have to hold on through that transitional period, and you'll reach a state where your body is in ketosis.
Yes.
And it's the fastest way to get to ketosis, actually, if you are going to want to reach that state.
And the more insulin resistant you are, it could take a little while longer, but eventually everybody gets into ketosis. I had a lady write me just today, there's no matter what I do, I can't get into a state of ketosis. I'm like, fast. And she was like, but I can't not eat. I'm like, fast. Watch what happens. You will get, like, eventually the body will kick in that natural process to produce beta hydroxybutyrate. I promise you. But it just freaks people out in this day and age of breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner, midnight snack. It's just all these, we eat all the time. And so it's so backwards to people. So guys, I want to invite you to come up. We are inviting you to ask your questions all about fasting. We are on day number 1. I am simulcasting over on Jimmy on Clubhouse. Nella, Jennifer, I'll get to you guys in just a minute. Let me read some of the things that's come over on the Instagram page on Jimmy on Clubhouse. Norma says, I'm slightly hungry, but hot water and peak autophagy tea is helping. So yeah, a lot of these fasting teas. Does anybody up on stage do fasting teas? I don't.
I'm a purist when I'm fasting.
Same.
Water and salt.
So, Lindsay?
But I was called out last time because I was using tea, and I was like, okay, water it is this time.
Dax?
Well, guilt. No, I don't do any tea. I'm just like Caitlin. I'm a purist. I had someone ask me today who's wanting to do this fasting alongside may ask about, well, my doctor, they checked with them first. Their doctor said, well, have a little lemon juice. And I said, it's an astringent. It will help cleanse in a different way, but it's going to keep you from enjoying all the benefits of the fast.
Yes.
So no, I'm a purist. I prefer the water. The salt is an essential because of the electrolyte imbalance that will occur over time if you don't do that.
So for the record, you guys, Caitlin, did you have something?
Well, I was just going to say, if you're first starting and, thinking that you can have tea gives you comfort in order to do it, then do it.
Yes.
But if you don't need it, then don't do it and try and push yourself. So the more often that you fast and the more fast that you get under your belt, I'm going to encourage you and even challenge you to try and do water and salt only.
Yes.
But if in the beginning you need it as a crutch, as a comfort, then okay, do it. But you don't want to be doing like any sugar or any cream or anything in your tea at that point, though.
Yeah, like Lindsay was talking about earlier, you try it one way and you go, nope, that didn't work for me. Let's refine it some more. And so you kind of learn over time. Just like in your diet, just like with your keto diet, sometimes people have the treats when they first start and then they realize, oh no, I feel best when I just stick with meat, fat, and vegetables. And so you kind of learn those lessons over time. I will tell you guys, I use, and I haven't yet on this fast because I'm still early on in it at 28 hours, but I use these things called fasting drops from Keto Chow. If you need some concentrated sodium and magnesium, you drop it a little bit in your glass of water. And it gives you that boost. But I also have the Redmond's Real Salt, and I keep it in a bowl. I literally have a big red bowl right here that all week long I'm just going to put some underneath my tongue when I feel a little bit of weakness. And I will tell you, I'm in hour 29 right now. So that's what a lot of you guys will be hitting either later today or maybe tomorrow. And I'm feeling that little spaciness, Lindsay, and that's okay. I think sometimes when people aren't used to fasting, they're like, oh no, I feel bad, I've got to eat. And it's like, no, the spaciness is kind of the transitionary period from being, okay, the dummy up there is not feeding me anything, so we've got to kind of shake him into reality here to either eat or we're going to have to do something else.
And to remember that it's just temporary.
Yes.
I think to those that have never done this before, like you mentioned, it can be an unusual experience to go through the emotional as well as the physiological changes that are associated with fasting. But stick in there because those things always will overcome and will even themselves out, should say.
Yes. And so, yeah, be kind to yourself as you work through those things. And Caitlin, I heard you in another room the other day talk about the waves of the hunger, and people that they feel that intensity of, oh my gosh, I've got to eat. And what are your strategies for helping them when that happens? Because it will happen, you guys. It happens to all of us up here on the stage. We have those periods. We have those waves of hunger. How do you get through it?
Oh, I'm so glad you said that we all get it, because I've been block fasting for years and years and years now. Actually, before it was even
a thing,
cool thing to do, people were like, you need to eat more often. You don't eat enough. And I would feel like garbage when I would do it. But what'll happen is you feel this like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry, I gotta eat. Well, take a minute, because you really don't have to eat, I promise you. Individuals who are of a healthy weight for their body type can still do 7-day fast. That's like a big misnomer. People will look at me and go, you don't block fast for 7 days. I do. And you won't lose a ton of weight, which the goal shouldn't always be, weight loss. That's part of it. There's many, many, many other benefits. But what you really should do is, I love what you do, Jimmy, like warm up some water, and you can add salt to it or not. I typically don't add salt to my water. I typically just eat the salt.
Yeah.
But I'll drink a warm cup of water, or I will actually chew on crushed ice. Not like ice cubes, guys, but like crushed ice, because it almost like that mechanical sense in your TMJ joint gives your brain the message that you're eating.
Yes.
I don't recommend chewing gum. I don't recommend,
biting your nails.
that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, don't bite your nails.
But, having a little bit of water, going and doing a meditation, going for a walk, doing something after you drink some water, and I promise you that feeling will go away. It will completely subside.
All right, confession time. 30 minutes before we got on this call today, Jimmy was laid out on the couch because I was starting to feel it. It was starting to kick in. So what did I do? I got outside. I got in the sunshine. I was taking deep breaths. And I was like trying to calm myself down because I knew what it was. I've done this plenty of times. And Dax, you get in those modes and you kind of go, okay, I'm going to ride this a little bit. Let's just play it out. No big deal. And when I got on the air, I was good to go.
Well, Jimmy, the fact that you know to take a little rest, lay down for a minute, kind of get your wits about you, and then you're better prepared. These are all things that you learn when you fast on a regular basis. I'd like to get the panel's response to this because I know a lot of the people in the audience have never fasted or maybe have attempted it and didn't work out very well. But for those folks just getting started, I know this is a 7-day water fast challenge, but for a lot of people, just one day would be a good start.
Yes.
And for me, the best time to start a 1-day fast for me is right after breakfast because you're only going to miss the remainder of those days' meals, and the rest of the fast is going to be taken up by sleep. And you need to use sleep effectively for your fast, whether it's 1 day, 3 days, 7 days. Sleep is your friend. Sleep is going to be a comfort. It's going to be a help. And the better you're able, and in addition to that, anytime that you're feeling uneasy and you're not comfortable with where your state of your body is, as I mentioned previously the other day, meditation is a great way to take the edge off of whatever feelings you're having.
Yes.
There is there's a cool little, I think it's still on Netflix, but it's put out by Headspace, and it's a little 8-episode, 20 minutes an episode, but it will do guided fasting for you. And I think it'd be really beneficial for anyone that's going through the 7-day or a 3-day or a 1-day. But meditation will help you along with the rest and the other tips that the panel's been giving here.
Oh my gosh. And I've been in my infrared sauna in the midst of long fast. That helps to relax you. Doing the whole 4-7-8 breathing pattern where you breathe in 4 seconds, you hold it 7 seconds, and you breathe out 8 seconds. It just relaxes your body. And see, when you're fasting, the nemesis is stress, Lindsay. I think more than anything else, if you get stressed in the midst of a fast, I think it hits you harder than if you're in a feeding session. And I remember when I was in the midst of one of those 21-day fasts, it was day 17, and I had to travel. And it was a happy stress because I was going on vacation and getting out of town and meeting up with friends, but my body was just, my stomach could not stop growling. It was because of the stress. So recognizing that in yourself and trying to do things to relax yourself, so critical.
Absolutely, Jimmy. All of these things, so fasting is a stress.
Yes.
Many good stresses on the body. We hear about other things like cold water, but fasting, again, is also a stress on the body. And so our body receives all of these experiences and sensations and translate it to a stressor. That could be chemical, that could be emotional, that could be physical, that could be the fasting, going without food. So all of these things, when you think about the aggregate, what's going on with the body, that's another determinant of when is it the right time. Am I under immense amount of stress in my life that makes it difficult to fast so that my body can really prioritize and heal?
Good point. And Caitlin, one of the things that comes up that people say, well, do I need to keep exercising? Do I need to keep taking my supplements? And I think you need to block out that fasting is an entirely different beast than the feasting time. Supplements, exercise, I think, and other things should be reserved for those times when you're eating. When you're fasting, imagine it as being this intensive care kind of surgery taking place in your body. It literally is cleaning up those dead cells we were talking about earlier. And so do you agree, kind of abstain except for like general walking and things like that, but nothing glycolytically demanding kind of workouts when you're fasting? Caitlin?
It would help if I hit the mic button.
I know, right?
Yeah, so if you are intermittent fasting, I highly recommend continuing your workout.
Yes.
Because you are going to get massive benefits from working out in a fasted, intermittent fasting
Yes.
state. When you're doing block fast, though, so anything, 48 hours and beyond, so like 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, and beyond, I do not recommend vigorous exercise because that stress is going to tax your adrenal glands. It's going to spike your cortisol, which is going to spike your glucose, which is going to have this cascading effect with inflammation and all sorts of other things. So extended fasts, no exercise. The thing when it comes to supplements, I love supplements. I use supplements as a means of expediting the healing process with my clients. But when it comes to fasting, I want the body to do what it knows how to do. I want it to focus on what it needs to do and not what I think it needs to do. And so when it comes to fasting, there's very few supplements that I will have people continue on. Medications is a different story.
Yes.
But supplements, outside of an electrolyte, I will only either do a hydrogen, which is fast tonic, and I know Lindsay likes fast tonic as well, or bind, like a really clean carbon to help bind up the toxins that are being released during these extended fasts. Outside of that, I don't have my clients continue with like adrenal support or gut support or any of that. I want the body to clean it up and support itself the way that it's supposed to.
And it's only temporary. Like people freak out. Oh my gosh, how do I live without my supplements? I'm like, it's going to be about 3 to 7 days. So it's not the end of the world.
Well, and the other thing too, when you look at supplements, really everything we do should be cyclical. We should be changing things around. We shouldn't be taking the exact same supplements every single day for years on end, because ultimately what we're doing is we're creating this environment where our body depends on it versus utilizes it for what it's supposed to be. So I actually don't like using the same supplements over and over and over and over and over again anyway. So it's a great time to take a break and let your body reset.
Cycle your diet, cycle your fasting, cycle your supplements, or cycle your movement patterns. Are you getting the theme here, you guys? So that's always good. Dax, do you cycle things in and out of your routines?
Yeah, I do actually. I have that's funny that Caitlin mentioned that. I have a series of supplements that I have used for years from people that I've come to trust, sources I've come to trust, and I'll go about 6 months on any given regimen, and then I'll switch it up and use something different or different amounts or different combinations. But one thing I wanted to speak to regarding Caitlin's conversation about the exercise is a good way to look at fasting is like you would look at exercising. If you exercise 12 hours a day, every single day, within a short period of time, you would be wearing yourself out physically with joint damage and muscle fatigue, tears. Well, if you eat all the time, you're constantly working the stomach, the gastro intestinal tract, the acids, everything that is involved in digesting food. If you're eating all day long, every single day, never giving your body or your digestive system a rest, you're doing yourself a disservice, and it never has a chance. That's part of the reason that stomach acid is so weak in the average American, is they never give their body a chance to restore itself and to build up the stronger stomach acids necessary for complex protein breakdown, etc.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to reset the room. You are in Keto for the Soul. Click on that little green house at the top of the page and subscribe. We have lots of great rooms all day long, 7 days a week here on Keto for the Soul. My name's Jimmy Moore. I'm the author of a book called The Complete Guide to Fasting, and I decided I love you guys. I want to show you the benefits of fasting, and so we're doing this 7-day water fasting challenge this week. And if fasting is intimidating to you, hopefully some of the information that Lindsay, Caitlin, and Dax and I have all shared so far is kind of opening you up. Please, please, please click on that little hand down there at the bottom. Otherwise, some of you I'm going to pull up here if you don't start asking questions. But Nella, it is your turn, my dear. What you got for us? Nella, Bobella, Banana, Nana, Fofella. Are you there? Going once.
Hey,
there she is.
I'm here.
There she is. Hey.
So I was listening in and I stumbled upon because I saw the title of the room. I actually recently completed a 6-day fast.
Nice.
Which I was actually pretty shocked. My initial goal was 72 hours. So I've been doing keto for the past 2.5 years solid. The last about a year has been up and down during the pandemic.
Yes.
So I was really used to intermittent fasting because I incorporated that, but I've never been able to fully make it to the 72 hours. I always stop at 67, 68.
So what stopped you before, Nella? I'm curious.
I honestly don't even know.
Was it mental, you think? Do you think mentally you're I have to eat? Wait a minute, this can't be healthy. Did any kind of thoughts like that pop in your head?
I think mentally, that may have definitely played a role. I am also a caterer, so I, am cooking a lot.
Yes.
Often, just not only for myself. So I don't know. I think maybe I psyched myself out a little bit. Even after completing this 6-day one, I think I was going through fasting regret because I was damn, okay, you really didn't have to break the fast. You really weren't even that hungry. Look at you now. You're full after 3 bites. So I definitely was having some regret. But I did consume sea moss during my fast. I had 2 tablespoons a day. I'm not sure if that played a role in me completing the 6 days or not, but I did have water, salt, and 2 tablespoons of sea moss a day. And it was really successful. I'm actually really excited. It's actually been a week, so now I'm actually asking myself, maybe a week and a half. Is it safe to do another long-term fast so soon?
Yeah.
Or
So you did a 6-day fast. First of all, congratulations. You wanted to go 72 and you went double that.
Thank you.
That's badassery on a whole nother level. And having to cook food
I catered twice during that time.
Oh, you are a ninja warrior, girl, because that's just, that's next level. It's hard enough fasting, but to then have to cook, cater lots of food. Yeah, that's amazing. But to answer your question, you just did a 6-day fast a week and a half ago, like Caitlin was talking about earlier, about 3 or 4 times a year. So once-ish a quarter, maybe with the changing of the seasons. So maybe a couple months from now, if you wanted to do another longer fast, that would probably be fine. Anybody else on the panel want to chime in?
I would love to. Nella, you look young and that you're still in your menstruating years, am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so this is for all the women out there. Fasting is beautiful. Whoever says women should not fast doesn't know the science behind it, doesn't know the hormones. But there is a right way and a wrong way to fast, and I learned it the hard way. So for fasting or for menstruating women, the ideal time to do block fasting, not intermittent. Intermittent you can do all the time, but block fasting you want to do sometime between days 1 and 10 of your cycle, because it is going to allow that cleanup, but it's not going to hinder sex hormone production. You do not want to do it days 14 through 28, whatever your cycle looks like, because that is going to massively tank your hormone production long term if you do it regularly. So that's just a little quick tip for all of the menstruating women out there. The ideal time to block fast, days 1 through 10.
Got you. Thank you so much. That's so helpful.
Man, you ladies are complicated. You have to keep a calculator around to know when to do things.
That's where the phones and the apps come out.
Yes.
It's been a huge lifesaver.
There's an app for that. Lindsay?
Absolutely. I love that Dr. Caitlin pointed that out, and that's something that is incredibly important. And I've learned that by trial and error myself. And then that miseducation that women can fast just like men, and we just can't. We're just more sensitive hormonally to those signals.
Yes. Jennifer, you're up next. What you got for us?
Oh, I'm just following you along, Jimmy.
God bless you.
I heard that you were going to do the 7-day fast this week, and I've always wanted to try an extended fast. I've never done one before. So,
Nice.
I'm in day 1, and I had dinner last night. So I finished eating at 5 o'clock last night, and so this is day 1. And I think I mentioned to you before, I've done 24-hour fasts pretty regularly, and just time-restricted eating regularly, and I pretty much eat low carb, so I'm hoping that I can transition into this. But I think the hardest part for me is going to be not drinking coffee.
Yeah, somebody over on Instagram Live asked, can you explain what the problem is with using black tea or black coffee during a fast? And that's a great question. Lindsay, is it because the caffeine could stoke hunger, or what is the reasoning behind why, being a purist about it, why black tea and black coffee are off the table?
I think it's a personal choice for a lot of people, but the idea being that you are allowing your body to do what it does best without any interference, without any other substances that are going to act on the body, such as caffeine. You can be more sensitive to the caffeine as well. Dr. Caitlin, did you have thoughts, or maybe from more scientific? That's what my understanding is.
So there is research that shows that caffeine can help with ketosis, but it ultimately depends on, I'm going back to what is your goal of the fast. So for me, when I'm fasting, it's not just a physical thing, it's also it's a mental and emotional thing. So I want to, kick any ties that I have to anything, any habits that I have to certain foods, or having coffee or having tea at a certain time. It's really just to reset everything and regain control of everything that I do, why I do it, when I do it. So for me, that's really why I choose to do water only. There is research out there that, supports black tea, black coffee. Dave Asprey's a big proponent for pushing that, for getting you deeper into a fasted state. Naomi Whittle, same thing with her autophagy. So you just have to figure out why you're doing it and what fits best for you.
And Jennifer, it's going to be fun because you and I have an interview on my podcast coming up on Wednesday. So you'll be deep into day 3 of fasting by that time.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be awake and alert.
Well, that's when the magic happens.
Yeah, your brain is going to be so sharp.
Yes.
I'm just going to be firing off during our interview.
When I was doing the podcast tour for the Complete Guide to Fasting, I was 21 days fasting, and I'd be on somebody's show, and they're like, hey, so have you fasted lately? Oh, I'm in day 12 of a fast, and they're just shocked because I'm so lucid and energetic, and I'm like, you have firing of ketones going crazy in your brain at that point. Hey, I wanted to bring up a point. Thank you, Jennifer. I wanted to bring up a point about weight loss, because that is one of the reasons why people go on a fast. And a lot of people have this notion, well, you lose weight during a fast, but then you put it all back on when you start eating again. So Dr. Fung and I explained that when you go on a fast, for each day of fasting, on a block fast, as Caitlin calls it, I call it an extended fast. For each day that you fast, you're going to lose about a quarter pound to a half a pound of body fat. Now, if you lose more than that, it's an indication that you're insulin resistant. And so you're going to have extra things that will lose. So when you start eating again and you, quote, put weight back on again, let's say over this 7 days you lose 12 pounds. If you put back on 9 or 10 of that, that's completely normal, because what you're going to lose over that 7-day period is just over 2 to 3 pounds. So get that in your head ahead of time. If you get excited, oh my gosh, I lost 12 pounds during this 7-day fast, you're not going to keep it all off, but cumulatively, these things will add up over time.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I just think so many people, they get discouraged. I'm like, guy, you did well. Never mind the autophagy and the growth hormone boosting and all the other things. You gave your pancreas a break for a week. Don't freak yourself out about the weight. And I know Rhonda has been struggling a little bit lately, but is this intriguing to you, Rhonda?
Yeah, it is giving me information. I'm just doing a 24-hour fast.
No. Don't use that language. You're not just doing a 24-hour fast. You're doing a 24-hour fast, damn it. Like, you've got to, if you've never done that before, that's a big deal.
Okay, that helps. I'm doing a 24-hour fast, resetting my mishap last week, or my challenging week last week. I'm doing good. It's over at 6:30. I use the app and it kind of encourages me, over the time frame. My question is, for a newbie somewhat, 3 months in, is there a time or is it a period that says you shouldn't fast for, like you guys are doing, 7 days? Is it that my newness to it would restrict me, or should I, this is my second 24-hour fast over these 3 months. So when can I go higher?
Yes.
What a question. Thank you.
What a great question, Rhonda. Thank you for that. And I think just the fact that you're new and you already know to ask that question is so good. I love that. So for me, I think you've already felt what it feels like to be well keto adapted. You did struggle a little bit last week. Get back on plan again. I mean, this 24-hour fast is going to help kickstart that. But I say get that well-oiled machine of keto working well, where you feel so good that you feel like you could fast. Like, I didn't wake up one day saying, oh boy, I want to fast for 7 days. No, it was kind of this building upon things. So if you've only done 16 or 18 hours of fasting, push it to 24. Then once you accomplish 24, next time shoot for 36 to 42 hours. All right, if you're able to accomplish that, next time go 48 to 72 hours. So it's all going to be intuitive to your own liking. I will tell you, for those of you that have done less than 72, if you go over 72 just once, just try it just try it one time. You're going to be surprised that if you make it to day 4, you'll easily make it to day 7. Panel?
Ultimately, just what Jimmy said, keep pushing it back little by little by little. So the next time that you complete your 24, ask yourself, do I need to eat, or do I want to push it out a little longer? Like, can I push it out till, instead of having dinner today, can you have breakfast tomorrow? And then you will automatically go to like a 36-hour fast because you're sleeping through it. And as you push it out little by little by little, you're becoming more metabolically flexible, but you're also telling yourself, look, I can do this, this isn't that bad. And so step by step, push it out little by little by little. I don't recommend that you jump into a 7-day fast unless you're compelled to do so. But, keep doing what you're doing, and when you say you messed up, that's okay. Guys, I have feast days set into my schedule every week, but you're feasting, eating healthy foods, so that's a totally different topic. But watch the words that you're saying to yourself, because when you're like belittling the efforts that you're putting in, your body and your brain remembers that. And
Yes.
It's going to make everything so much harder. So just like Jimmy said, like you are doing a 24-hour fast. That's awesome. Ask yourself, can you go a little longer and see if you can go till tomorrow morning?
And Rhonda, if you get to the 24-hour mark and you go, I'm good, go for it. Like, there's no hard and fast rule. I'll tell you what, I'm going to say this ahead of time. I hope I make it 7 days. But if I make it through the 7 days and I feel good going into 8th day, guess what? I'm going to keep fasting a little longer, because that's like, you have that prerogative. And if you feel good, why would you stop that? Now, eventually you will start eating again. Don't fast indefinitely. That would be horrible. But yeah, so I love it that you're trying this, especially since you just went through a struggle, Rhonda. My only caution to you is, because of the stress of the struggle, that might make you feel hunger quicker than you would normally. So just be mindful of that. Do some of those relaxation things we talked about earlier as you progress in this.
And it's setting your own PR, right? And celebrating those wins each time. The first time I did like a 42-hour fast, I didn't even make it 48, but it was like, holy smokes, I just went 42 hours. Like, and then as you push it out, or like you're doing 24 hours, that's so awesome. And you celebrate that win, and sometimes 24 turns into 27 or 36 or anything. You just keep pushing to new personal records, much like Jimmy described.
And you know how many people... Go ahead, Rhonda.
I just want to say thank you. And is there any time in between fasts that you should you wait 4 weeks, 2 weeks, or is there a time that you should give yourself in between fasting?
Of a
That's
20
my last question.
Of a 24-hour fast?
Yeah, or if I made it to 48, should I wait another week before?
Oh, if you make it to 48, yeah, if you make it to 48, I think the next week would be fine. 24, I regularly kind of do, that's called OMAD, 1 meal a day. You could probably do that a couple times a week. If you do a 48-hour fast, probably once a week if you wanted to push it, like Caitlin was talking about, kind of doing it over the weekend, or Lindsay, one of you guys said over the weekend, it kind of makes it easier to kind of, because you're more in that relaxed state, you're not in your kind of normal busyness of your week. That could be a convenient way to do it. But yeah, I think the longer you fast, the longer you have to recover from that.
Jimmy, can I add to that?
Please.
So for women, it really depends where you're at in your cycle. So are you in your cycling years, or are you are you menopausal, or are you postmenopausal? If you are in your cycling years, I don't personally recommend doing too many long-term fasts. And by long-term, I'm meaning like back-to-back 24 hours, especially after day 17 of your cycle. You're going to tank your progesterone hormone. So at that time, I typically recommend days 17 through, your bleed, doing like a 16-8. And then again, going back to the longer fast or the block fast or the 24-48, days 1 through 10. Now, if you're perimenopausal, I still recommend following more of the cycling schedule, just because we want to make sure that you're producing adequate amounts of progesterone so that when you go into menopause, your hormones don't tank. Now, post-menopause, that's a little different. You can do things a little bit more like quote-unquote men can do it, but I still recommend not doing back-to-back-to-back-to-back long-term fasts, because it's going to stress your adrenals, and your adrenals are what take over production of your sex hormones. So we don't want to stress your adrenals out more, because then your estrogen and your progesterone are going to drop even more. So there is an art to fasting for women. You do need to do it for health. We just don't want to do it too often and too long in order to have long-term repercussions hormonally.
Such good information. Thank you for that. And to that end, over on the Instagram page for Jimmy on Clubhouse, Dr. Cat says, I never knew about the days for women. I did many regardless without paying attention to what day I was on. I guess I'm not that sensitive in my hormones.
Oh, if you do it, see, that was me, and I did that for 2 years. where I just did it whenever I was like, oh, my husband's going to do, a 5-day, a 7-day, I'll just do it. And you can do it and you can push through it, because if you're driven and a stubborn woman like I am, you're just going to be like, nope, I don't care what my body's telling me, I'm just going to push through it. It's fine, no big deal, because we think when our body's telling us, now's not the right time, it's just our body and lack of willpower. That is not it at all. That's where understanding hunger versus what your body's actually telling you is really important. So what I'm getting at is doing it long term is what is going to get you. Doing it initially, just getting into fasting, especially if you have more weight to lose, especially if you have like other conditions like PCOS, or like your hormones aren't an issue, then you might not see that being a problem initially. But the longer you do it, it will tank your hormones just because of the physiology behind it.
Yes.
So learn from me, don't do it long term. It's not worth it, because it does take time to recover from that, to rebuild up your hormones when they tank.
Are we type A up here, Caitlin? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Oh, yes. Type A, recovering perfectionist,
Type A's unite, yes. Shan, you're up next.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hey.
About fasting, anytime, I'm wondering if I should ease into it, as far as the first day always just kills me, and I don't know if it's because of the lack of caffeine. I'm not a huge caffeine person. I drink maybe 2 cups of coffee, but it seems like the first day or two on a fast is excruciating. Just no energy, headaches. So should I ease into it and back my coffee off and see if that helps, or just suffer through it and go, 1 or 2 days feeling crappy?
Can I chime in there?
Yeah, go Dax, go.
What I try to do before I do any fast, even if it's a 1-day fast, and I love coffee, I love tea, I love cream and sugar in both of them. Don't get me wrong about any of that. But the better you prep yourself for a fast or to start a fast, the more you're going to enjoy fewer repercussions from that stark difference in food to no food. I will, at least a week in advance, I will cut out all processed foods and all sugars, all added sugars. One of the reasons we spoke earlier about caffeine, I know caffeine can accelerate your journey into ketosis in a fast, but part of the reason that I'm a water purist as far as fasting goes is the body knows exactly what it needs to do and in the timing that it needs to do it when you're implementing a fast and starting the cleansing process. So you can avoid quite a few of the side effects, we'll call it, of getting into a fast if you'll eliminate added sugar, processed foods, alcohol, expressly alcohol, at least a week in advance, and cut way back on your carbs. That way you're already kind of introducing yourself to the modality that's going to be you're going to go through when you are in a fasting mode.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shan. Dawn, what you got for us? Dawn, are you there? Dawn, going once. There she is.
Here I am. Sorry about that. I forgot to unmute. I got a question here. I've never water fasted only. I've been weight stable for many, many, many years. I've been doing keto for 4 years. And I have fasted, but I've done it because I just don't like to feel hungry. But I've done fat fasting. And I did that, like I did 48 hours with fat fasting, and it was like super easy and awesome to do. And I've tried it just with water, but I get cold so fast. So, and I'm also postmenopausal, so I know we talk hormones there, and I am kind of a little freaked about down-regulating, like tanking my metabolism, and I'm wondering if that's what being cold is.
Oh, no, that's not what the cold is at all. I'll let the doctors chime in here in a minute. Let's get one thing straight, and thank you for bringing that up, Dawn, because a lot of people think, I'm going to slow down my metabolism. But actually, just the exact opposite happens. You actually rev up your metabolism by as much as 12 to 14% when you go on block or extended fasting. So this is like so counterintuitive to what people believe. You think, okay, well, I'm going to eat less. It's better to eat no food at all and stick with fasting. I don't count fat fasting as, quote, fasting. Fasting is no food as much as possible that you can, because every bit of nutrition then tells your brain, tells your body that you're eating. So if you're going to do a true fast, you're actually going to be a lot better than if you eat in a hypocaloric state. So I don't know what you consume on your fat fast. Generally, it's about 200 calorie or 250 calorie kind of, quote, meals that you eat, about 4 to 5 of those in a day. Is that what you did?
Well, I probably had about 600 to 800 calories.
Total for the day?
Yes, for the day. And
Yeah.
It just kind of got me through the grumbles, eh?
Yeah. But it's also, and I definitely want to hear the rest of the panel chime in, but sometimes we think we need those things. It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with the bone broth and the kombucha and all these little things, the cream and the coffee. It's aids that we think will help us, but it's actually counterproductive to the benefits that you would get from a fast. Lindsay, what do you think?
Absolutely. Well, the benefits that you run into with a fat fast is obviously the caloric restriction. You're lowering your carbs, that sort of a thing. But if you're going to go for the healing that really exists around a water fast, again, it goes back to what's been said before. What are your goals for fasting? And it's okay to have those fears and to face them and have that courage to try. And trying a fat fast is good. However, if your goal is for autophagy, to really tap into your body's innate ability to heal those sick senescent cells that are around in our body, as well as really allow our body to generate new stem cells, naive stem cells. And our body is so smart. It knows where to put those stem cells and where we need healing, whether that be in the gut, if it's a musculoskeletal injury that needs to repair. I've had old injuries, like on my ankle from running, and at day 3, day 4, I'll be like, man, that old injury hurts, or it's kind of tender. And when you think about it, the healing process sometimes, whenever you've sprained something or you've broken something, it can be a little bit tender when it's repairing. And so by going with a water fast, you're really getting deep into that healing and allowing your body to do what it does best, which is to help you survive and help you to be your very best.
Dawn, can I ask you, what were your fats when you were doing your fast, like your fat fasting?
What was my fats? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, what were you consuming?
Well, I make my own butter ghee with grass-fed butter, and I used an egg yolk, so I got a little bit of protein in there, and cacao butter.
So what's going to happen, because you are getting a fair amount of protein in there, you very well could be stimulating the mTOR pathway, which is a pathway that your body will utilize when carbohydrates and glucose is down. It can shunt protein into making glucose. And so although the fats are amazing, it's just not going to have the same outcome as water only, just like Jimmy and Lindsay said. And you don't have to jump into a 7-day. Why don't you try doing like a 24 and then a 36, and making sure that your minerals, your electrolytes are up is really going to help with the tummy grumbles. And honestly, long-term fasting is not going to tank your metabolism. That I promise you. You just have to be mindful of how often you're doing those longer fasts, because that's really going to actually help stimulate and maintain metabolism, especially as we age.
That's so awesome to hear. Thank you very much for that. And so me being cold, that's okay, right? I just dress warmer.
That's actually what I wanted to touch on. Thank you for bringing that up. What happens is when we don't eat, our production of free T3 goes down naturally, because T3 is one of those hormones that is correlated with insulin. So as insulin slowly goes down, so is our T3 production. And so T3 is part of our body's body temperature regulation mechanism. So it is definitely not uncommon for us to feel cooler or even cold when we do water only fast. So that's where like drinking warm water, getting more salts into you. But honestly, when I do 5-7 days, my hands and feet are freezing all the time. I just make sure that I have like a blanket near me, or I have like big fuzzy socks on, and knowing that that's okay, this is going to pass as soon as I'm done with the water fast.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. And one for Dax, did you have something?
No, I was just going to say, Jimmy, you need to remind them about the hot bath with Epsom salt.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Anything that would add, I guess, a relaxation component, and that's definitely a good one to do. One phrase that I think is good to keep in mind with making the distinction between fat fast, egg fast. I kind of hate that fast got associated with those things because they're not fasts at all. Is when you fast, which is defined as no eating, no nutrition. It's kind of the funny thing when people go on a fast. Well, what can I eat on a fast? I'm like, do you understand the definition of the word fast? Like, no food. So you eat nothing.
I'm still with you.
And so when you fast, and then when you are eating, when you feast. What happens invariably, and we'll get into this later in the week as we get closer to the end of this, but what happens invariably is people get done with a fast and then they go back to eating and they don't eat enough. So we're going to talk about that later in the week, making sure that you're getting adequate nutrition. When you fast, but when you feast. But let's get back to, we got lots of people on the stage now. Rose, you're up next.
Oh, hi everyone.
Hey.
I believe Dax answered my question earlier. I believe Shan was talking about how she gets sick sometimes as she moves forward. He was talking about preparing. But I do have a question.
Sure.
If you're like that, can you just add a little bit of salt or pickle juice or something like that? Or is that a no?
Salt is always welcomed.
Okay, that's great to know.
Yeah, I literally have a big, huge bowl of Redmond's Real Salt next to me this whole time. I've already taken like 6 hits, you guys, while we've been on the air.
So you just add it to your water?
Oh, I just put it under my tongue, sweetie. It's so good. Especially when you get a good tasting salt. Girl, oh my gosh. And like if I start to kind of feel sluggish or feel like I'm getting hungry, quote, hungry, or have a craving or what, I just stick that under my tongue and you just let it ooze there. And it feels so good.
Yeah, okay.
Another thing that's really awesome is if you get a really good rock salt.
Yes.
Just put a little piece of rock salt in your mouth. It's almost like a lozenge or a candy, and it is completely satiating.
Wow, I'll write that down. Okay, but I tend to feel faint. That's why I was thinking the salt.
Well, that's electrolyte imbalance when you start to feel faint. Right, Lindsay?
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. Electrolytes are key, especially during fasting.
Okay.
It could also be indicative of early stage insulin resistance, which would mean fasting would be extremely beneficial for you. Just be smart about it.
Got it. And how long does it take to reach autophagy? Sorry if I'm saying that right.
Well, like Caitlin said earlier, within like 18 hours, you're getting it on an intermittent fast. But if you're talking about like deep, full, maximum potential autophagy, generally it's 72-ish hours when that kicks in.
Got it.
Yeah. I actually have a fasting timeline on my Instagram page that really helps motivate people because they can look at like, okay, how many hours am I at? What are the benefits that I should be seeing? And you're exactly right, Jimmy. Like 18 hours is autophagy kicks in. 36 hours, autophagy has increased by 300%. By 48 hours, your growth hormone has increased 5 times. Your insulin levels have dropped by 54 hours, the most that they've dropped. 72 hours is when maximum autophagy happens, so that's when everything gets broken down. So it's pretty phenomenal as you move through the fasting, the hours, what your body's doing during that time.
All right, great. I'm definitely going to check that out on your page. And before I go, just to confirm, someone said if you're pre-menopausal, 1 to 10 days is when you should fast, and do not fast after the 17th day?
So if you are like menstruating and perimenopausal, the best time to do the extended fast or the block fast, depending on which word you like, The best time is days 1 through 10 for females. You do not want to be doing, I don't even recommend 24-hour fast, day 17 through day 1 of bleed for women. I recommend more of like 16-8, even like an 18-6, those days on. So getting more healthy fats, more healthy carbs to support hormone production.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for answering my questions. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rose. And speaking of autophagy, the year that our book came out was 2016. It was October 2016. And just 1 week after the Complete Guide to Fasting hit, the Nobel Prize in Medicine was won by the guy that came up with the concept of autophagy cleanup through fasting. I was like, man, Dr. Fung, we could not have timed this book any better. That was so cool. Sydney, you're up next.
Yay, thank you. So I haven't only.
I taught you well.
I've done 24-hour fasting pretty regularly, and by regularly I mean maybe like monthly or so. And I'm looking forward to trying something longer. It seems like something totally healing, and thank you for your panel and all of the things you guys have to offer. My question, and I hope that this wasn't already covered because I didn't join right at the beginning, but I work mainly with women, and would love to hear what's possible or recommended for women who are pregnant or nursing.
All right, Lindsay and Caitlin, that's your wheelhouse. Hop on. Not.
Yeah, that's what I've always assumed.
It's not recommended because during that time you're supporting hormones, you're supporting and growing another being, and so you need calories, you need food, and so it is definitely not the time to be fasting, and because part of fasting is also detoxing, and so the last thing you want is for the mom to be releasing toxins, and those toxins redistributing and going to baby. So I tell women, during pregnancy and during like lactation, breastfeeding, not the time to be fasting. They can do intermittent fasting as long as they're being smart about it. They're eating when they're hungry. Like, it's all about intuitive eating at that point. Don't eat if you're not hungry, but make sure you're hydrated. But wait until you're done breastfeeding, and that's when you can get back into the full swing of really fasting.
Perfect.
Lindsay, do you want to add to that?
No, you succinctly and perfectly described that. I think the big key being, as moms, we want to get our body back, and we're thinking this is a great way to do it, and it is, except those toxins that we can pass on to the child, and we don't want to do that at all. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sydney. We're going to pop over to the Jimmy on Clubhouse room over on Instagram. And those of you that came in late, if you missed any part of this is being recorded. I have an Instagram page. I don't know anybody else doing this. I simulcast live on Jimmy on Clubhouse over on Instagram, and it puts it up on IGTV just as soon as this is over, so you can go back and watch the replay. But I got people live on here. Norma says that this is for the panel. Tell people that palpitations seem to be common when fasting. Is that your experience, panel?
I feel like I've been chiming in too much. I'd love for Lindsay and Dax to chime in first.
Dax, do you ever have heart palpitations when you're fasting?
Yes, actually I do. And that is, for people who are new to fasting, it's a little bit scary because it is your heart, and it is something that if it's not something you're accustomed to or have experienced, it can be a bit frightening. What you have to realize is that your body's furnace heating up, and it's doing its job, and it's one of a lot of things with fasting. You need to look at them as indicators of the fast working, as opposed to panicking about, I'm getting chills, I need to stop my fast. I'm getting palpitations, I need to stop my fast. It's rare that I've ever seen that is actually causing a problem. If someone has an underlying heart condition, obviously that can be a factor, and Dr. Caitlin could probably address that better. But Jimmy, I've got to run. I have a meeting. I appreciate all of you in this room and everyone listening. You need to follow the Keto for the Soul and Jimmy, because he's doing great things. And Lindsay and Dr. Caitlin, pleasure as always. Thank you so much for letting me join in with you today.
Thank you, Dax. Appreciate your experience.
Thank you.
Lindsay, do you want to chime in about the heart palpitations?
Yeah, they pass. I don't know from a medical standpoint the stress, I imagine, that the body's responding to, but it's not anything too terribly alarming, though it can be a little bit nerve-wracking at first. What are your thoughts, Dr. Caitlin?
So whenever heart palpitations kick in, my first question is always, what is happening at the time that they are occurring? Are you in a stressful situation? Did something just happen that got your blood pressure up? So take note of what's happening at the time. Next, take your blood pressure ultimately and see where's your blood pressure at. Now, if those look really good, it could be that your thyroid hormone is actually, because remember, our body, when we're not eating, it has the ability to shunt energy to where it actually needs, especially with healing. So more times than not, what ends up happening is as insulin drops, T3 will also drop with it. So when T3 starts to drop, when our thyroid starts to produce less hormone because we don't need as much when we're fasting, sometimes when the body is insulin resistant or hormone resistant and there's still inflammation, it can result in heart palpitations. The other thing is electrolyte imbalance. So usually those people are severely deficient in electrolytes, so making sure that you're getting, healthy electrolytes in, especially salt is the easiest way. And I tell people at a minimum you want to be getting 2 teaspoons in, and that's the bare minimum if you are doing a water-only fast.
Oh, I've had more than 2 teaspoons while we've been on this call today.
Oh, well, that's why I say bare minimum. People are so scared of salt. So getting them to start getting it in is so important. And I tell people, honestly, bare minimum 2 teaspoons of good quality salt every day. Not just when you're fasting, but every single day.
Yeah, it's helpful on keto as well. Ryan, you're up next. What you got for us, Ryan? Hit that little unmute yourself in the lower right-hand corner. There you go.
Oh, awesome. There we go. Appreciate it. The question I have, so I've never done a fast before, but we have a competition in the gym this week.
Yeah.
That it would help if I lost like a few pounds for like body weight ratio. So the question I have for you is, 1, how much strength can I expect to lose? And I guess what type of fast would you suggest?
Well, the ketones are going to be muscle sparing. So when you kick up your ketones during a fast or during a ketogenic diet, muscle is actually spared. And this is another common misperception. Thank you for this, Ryan, Lindsay, and Caitlin, is people think, oh no, I'm just going to like waste away in my muscle. But the body has a whole lot of other places to grab from before it grabs the muscle. Lindsay?
Absolutely. We upregulate human growth hormone, and as our insulin drops, our body does not go to use muscle. It'll use the stored energy, the glucose, and convert it into ketones, which are readily usable.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Would you suggest then like an all water fast for a day, or I guess, what would you guys suggest?
Yeah, that's a wonderful thing. If you've never fasted before, 24 hours is a great goal. Now, let's be honest, Ryan. You have fasted. It's called sleeping.
Yeah.
So probably 12 to 14-ish hours you've gone before. But yeah, push it to 24, see how you do. And yeah, that's called OMAD, where you eat 1 meal in a day and then you fast for 24 hours.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate it. What type of, I guess, how many pounds can I expect to shed over a day? I'm about 175 pounds right now.
What's your goal?
If I could get to around 170 for like this little gym competition, that'd be great. I'd be able to hit my goals. If I'm still hitting the numbers that I've been hitting over the last couple weeks. So if I could shed 5 pounds, that would be ideal.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, you're only going to drop about 0.25 to zero point 0.5 pounds of body fat. Now, you may lose more than that on the scale, but as far as body fat goes, that's what the loss would be. It would have to be cumulative over time. You don't want to rush this. This isn't something that it's a quick fix that you lose weight this week and now you're down that weight. No, it doesn't work that way. So
Okay.
I think it's going to be cumulative over time. Dr. Kat over on Instagram said after you're done with your fast, though, you'll notice your strength will jump up big, guaranteed. She's seen it.
Wow, that's awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Dr. Nick, what you got for us?
Hey.
Hey, man.
Quickly, first of all, it's nice to hear your voice, Jimmy, but just on the two topics that came up, I didn't want to butt in, but on the heart palpitations front,
Yep.
this wasn't mentioned, but I noticed with a lot of people, just when you're in a fast, because your ketones come up, you kind of go into that Zen mode and you become very aware of your body. And oftentimes, when I'm working with people, I just get them to ask themselves, is something weird going on with my heart, or am I just noticing my body and my heartbeat a little bit more?
Yes.
And I would say, like, half the time, that's probably what's going on. And then a lot of the time, it's just your blood pressure is a little bit low and you need some salt because your blood, you have low blood pressure, your heart has to pump more. And then, so my 2 cents on that. And then on the question that just came up, I just wanted to add the caveat that, yeah, ketones are totally muscle sparing, but you need to be keto adapted for that, or fat adapted for that really to kick in. So if you look at the nitrogen loss curves, for people that haven't ever done a low carb diet, you tend to lose a little bit of muscle and, as measured by nitrogen loss over the first 3 weeks. So it might be different for whoever just asked if you've never done a low carb diet, in which case there might be a little bit of muscle loss.
Right.
For me, working with people, it's the grass is greener on the other side. Once you fat adapt, you get the muscle-sparing effects.
That's true.
It's worth the 3-week, tiny investment, but at the beginning, you do have a tiny bit of loss.
I just assume if you're in a keto room on Clubhouse that you're already low carb. I don't even think I have to ask that, but you're right. I should have asked that.
I know that's probably a fair assumption. Anyway, my question for the panel is an introspective one. And that has to do with one of the questions that came up earlier was about somebody not feeling great, feeling stressed when she's fasting for 24 hours. And there's some really interesting work. I'm sure you know Mark Matson on a JHE who does a lot of the fasting work. And he published a paper in Nature Communications in 2019. And what they were showing was that when you put mice, when you restrict their food for 24 hours and you fast them, there's a stress response in the amygdala. So amygdala activity, it jumps up about 3-fold. But then as you adapt them to intermittent fasting, that effect goes away. There's no jump in amygdala activity, which is the stress center of the brain, or one of the stress centers, with fasting. And that actually correlates with neuroprotection against neurodegenerative disease. But my question is, if these studies can be done in mice, they can't really be done in humans because at the end of the trial you had to cut a head off and do some staining of the amygdala, and it'd be hard to get volunteers for that study. But in your experiences, working with people and in your own experiences, how does your stress response change with adaptation to fasting? This wasn't something I really thought about when I started trying to fast or doing a ketogenic diet, but I'm sure it happens. So is this something that you can remember, like a shift in your enjoyment of fasting? How long did that take? Was there a change in your stress response? Just any thoughts and memories?
Are you talking about when you fast and then you got that experience and the next time you fast, there was something different because you remembered something from the last one and just over time getting better? Is that what you're referring to?
No, actually the stress response of the fast. So sometimes, fasting is a stressful experience for the body, peripherally, but some people I know that get kind of agitated when they fast at the beginning, and it feels very hard. And that is presumably correlated, based on these mouse studies, with an increase in the amygdala activity.
I got you.
The fight and flight. And
Right.
that goes away with adaptation,
Right.
at least in the mouse model. So you can't test it in the human model. So I wanted to ask people what their timelines were, their memories were, to almost offer just again, grass is greener on the other side, beacon of hope to people that
Right.
it does get easier. There's
Right.
a neurological correlate to this, but what do
Sure.
people actually experience in your experience?
So Lindsay, this might explain why day 2 is so hard, almost consistently for everybody that fasts. Day 2, 3, could that be part of this mechanism that Nick's talking about?
Very well could be. I would say when our body starts to upregulate the GABA production and we are running on those ketones, you start to feel incredibly clear and incredibly calm. But I think the initial stress response, as you described, that's what causes the agitation and a little bit of anxiety until the body says, oh, wait, I figured this problem set out. I'm going to go get these fat stores that I have. That's right, I have these here. And then it starts upregulating all of those processes and calms the mind. What has been your experience, Dr. Nick?
Well, I don't remember. My question was more about long-term adaptation to the process. So you fast once, and it feels kind of stressful and hard. You fast again, and it feels a little bit easier. And it's not just, as I understand it, a peripheral adaptation, but a neurological adaptation. My experience personally I didn't really have trouble fasting ever. I've always been relatively insulin sensitive. I have a running background, and I went low carb for inflammatory disease, which helped it go away. So it wasn't anything that necessarily troubled me, but in working with patients, I've just found the timeline appears to be correlated with baseline insulin resistance. So people who are more insulin resistant, I find like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, sometimes longer for it to become somewhat easy. For people that start off with high insulin sensitivity and low insulin levels below like 6 microunits per liter, then almost off the bat, it's easy, maybe a couple times, but it's more behavioral. That's my experience.
That makes total sense. Caitlin?
Yeah, I was going to say, so Nick, I think the reason it gets easier is because we no longer have the fear of the unknown because we've already done it. But with that being said, my insulin levels are like fasting insulin is like 3, 2.5, just depending on when I get it tested. And I still have like the struggles on day 2 and 3. And I think why that is literally shifting over from the like glucose and running out of the glycogen stores and shifting over to ketones. Even though my ketones on my meter are still over 1, I find the sweet spot is as soon as I get to like 3 and above, I'm like flying high on ketones.
Yes.
So I do think that there's this shift that still happens that still makes it a little bit more difficult, but because you've done it, you already know that you can do it. And so it's almost like this sense of like, oh, I've done this before, I can do it again. Does that even come close to like answering what you've said? Because that's what I've seen with my clients too, is once they do it once, they're like, okay, I can do this, but it doesn't necessarily make it like a walk in the park. It's still kind of like, oh man, like days 2 and 3 still kind of suck, but I know that once I get past day 3, it's going to be amazing and I'm going to feel so good.
And then the question becomes, is it psychological or physiological that makes that happen, Nick?
Yeah, exactly. So I think Jimmy just hit the nail on the head, Dr. Caitlin. I think with humans, we do focus on the behavioral a lot, and my curiosity, and this is just curiosity, I don't expect a concrete answer, is how much is behavioral, how much is physiological. So if you're interested in the paper, it is a Nature paper. I'll just tell you the title is SIRT3 mediates hippocampal synaptic adaptation to intermittent fasting and ameliorates deficits in APP mutant mice. And it's by the Matson group in Nature Communications back in 2019. So because this is recorded, if you're interested in checking out that paper, I thought it was a fantastic paper, just as a throw out there. And now I'll be quiet and let you guys move on to another
Nick,
question because I've hogged up a lot of time.
yeah, Nick, thank you so much. And this room has gone on a lot longer than I thought. It just shows that this is a good topic, Lindsay and Caitlin. So, and we're only on day one. Stick around all week. You're gonna be sick of fasting by the end of the week. I promise you. Gary, go. You're next.
Hi, and thanks very much. This has been really informative. I had a question which was partially answered earlier, I think, by Caitlin about the salt. And she mentioned, I think, 2 teaspoons a day. Is there a sort of, I mean, you said that people are frightened of salt, and I'm certainly one of them. What's the sort of range when...
What's the range of what? I think we might have lost him. What do you think he was trying to ask? The range of the amount of salt to eat? Is that what he's saying, Lindsay, you think? Oh. Are you back? Are you back?
Sorry, I literally, a call came in.
Yeah. We all hate it when that happens. So you said, what is the range? Hang on. We said, what is the range? Finish from there.
So in terms of salt per day when you're doing a...
Okay, so I did guess right. I don't count, honestly. I've got a big bowl right next to me, and as I need it, I pop it in my mouth. And like Caitlin said, on the low end, 2 teaspoons a day. But you're going to find during a fast, especially deeper into this fast, that salt's going to be such an elixir. I mean, is there a danger, Lindsay, of going too high in the salt? Wouldn't you just pee it out?
I imagine there is something as too much, but I don't know that you would ever reach that point. I think your body would just tell you, no more, I don't like this anymore.
Yeah. And could I also ask, do you tend to drink warm water or cold water when you're doing the water fast?
I'm sipping on a cold glass of water right now, brother. It's awesome because it feels heavier in me, Caitlin. That's why I like the cold. And then later on, maybe have the warm, like you were talking about, and put the salt in your mouth and drink the warm water. Caitlin, is that what you do?
It depends on the season that I'm fasting in. So if I'm doing it in the winter, I will typically drink like room temp water or hot water. But then if I'm doing it in the summer when it's starting to get warmer and I'm warmer, then I'll drink colder water or, do the ice chips, things like that. So it ultimately just depends on, what is it that your body is telling you it sounds the best to you at that time.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary. Meg, you're up next. I love that picture, Meg.
Thanks. Okay, so I have a few questions. One of them y'all talked about quite a few times with the fasting days, like 1 to 10 for women premenopausal. Is that for like anything over 24 hours, or is it just?
What do you mean, like anything?
I think she's trying to say, does this also apply if you're intermittent fasting, or is it just long-term fasting?
Yeah, so I like 24, 36, 48, 3-day, 5-day, 7 days, done between days 1 and 10.
Okay.
Days 14,
the big ones.
Yeah, days 14 on, I typically tell women to eat their meals in like a 6-hour period, just to make sure that they're getting enough healthy carbohydrates in for progesterone production.
Okay, so would you say, I've been trying to do 20 and 4, and I feel like that's not difficult at all. But if I keep doing that, is that going to mess with hormones, or is it fine?
So it depends on what you're eating during those 4 hours. That's really the key.
Okay.
And we want to make sure that we're not putting our body in a state of deprivation ultimately, because it is a stressor. And so when we're trying to produce progesterone, if our body thinks that there's not enough food, because progesterone is needed for reproduction, our body's going to go, nope, can't reproduce. We're not going to produce progesterone because we don't even want you to potentially get pregnant. So it's just being mindful. And how long will it take for that to happen? No idea. That's where hormone testing is really important for women, especially if we're going to do this type of lifestyle, so that you can really customize it to yourself.
Okay, and when y'all were saying when you're fasting, fast, and when you feast, feast. Well, I feel like when I feast, I always eat so much that it's like not even worth a fast. I don't know.
Don't look at it in that way, because when you're eating, you're trying to tell your body it's okay to take up these nutrients. I think we're in such a low fat mentality from all the years of low fat, low calorie kind of dieting that you feel guilty about eating when you're eating. No, enjoy that eating so that when you go back into the fast, you're very well nourished and you don't have to worry about, ooh, I need a little something. No, you don't, because your body's very well nourished.
Okay, I have two more questions. One
Quickly.
is carb cycling. Do you like it or hate it?
Okay, that's not appropriate to this room because we're talking about fasting. What else you got fasting?
So, the next one is the 2/3. You say that day 2 and 3 are the hardest.
Yes.
What is your favorite length of time? Like for the most beneficial / the least, I don't know, difficult or hard to keep up with your daily functional, whatever.
So I think most people get most of the benefits of fasting from intermittent fasting. I think what we're doing this week is very rare. If you want to push yourself every once in a while, it's probably good to do that. It's a nice hormetic stress, which is always good to kind of push yourself. I think if you're going to shoot for a block fast, an extended fast, try to make it 48 to 72 hours just to kind of see how you do. And if you feel good, go longer. But it is going to be painful. Day 2 and 3. We're going to talk about that tomorrow, by the way, because everybody's going to come on here and go, ugh.
Oh, so y'all all started today. Got it.
Yeah, I started at 10:30 yesterday morning, so I'm technically already in, quote, day 2. But yeah, we'll all be in the throes of it probably tomorrow.
Okay. Good deal. Well, I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Meg. JD, you're up next.
Hi, guys. Thanks.
Hey.
I have a quick question. You mentioned a book and some drops that you like to take when you're on, when you're doing your fasting.
Yes. So that's a company called Keto Chow. I think their website, they're not a sponsor or anything, ketochow.xyz. And yeah, it's just called Fasting Drops. They sell like a high-fat shake thing, but they started helping people doing fasts. And then I'm trying to remember what book. Are you talking about my book?
Yeah, you said you had a fasting book.
Yeah, so it's called the Complete Guide to Fasting. It hit the Wall Street Journal bestsellers list. Dr. Fung, Jason Fung, was my co-author on that.
Great, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, sir. David, what you got for us?
How you doing?
Hey, man.
I have a quick question with regards to, I think there was a lady on here, Sydney, that was speaking earlier, and I looked up her bio. She's a nutritional, functional medicine nutrition person, so I was trying to find out how to get a hold of her with regards to women's health and thyroid. My wife's had some pretty serious issues.
Lindsay or Caitlin?
I have no idea who that is. Sorry.
She spoke earlier in your program, but there's nothing on her bio to how to get a hold of her.
Yeah, unfortunately, if she doesn't add that, we can't do anything about that. That's on her. So hopefully you see her in another room.
So hopefully. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Teresa, you're the last one up. What you got for us? Teresa, going once. Teresa,
Hello?
There she is.
Hello.
Hello.
Here I am.
What you got, sweetie?
I have a couple of questions that I'd like to ask.
Yep, speak up.
I have been doing the keto lifestyle since August.
All right.
And with some intermittent fasting, never longer than 24 hours. But I was wondering how you feel about, on this water fast. I drink a lot of water.
Okay.
But I mix the exogenous ketones with it. How do you guys feel about that when you're fasting?
So, Lindsay and Caitlin, I'm not sure what you think. If you're brand new to fasting and you kind of want to ward off some of that day 2, 3 kind of blah feeling that we're going to hit the next couple of days, I've heard, Lindsay and Caitlin, that some people do use targeted exogenous ketones in that manner. I think a lot of the benefits you get from the BHB salts is the salt that's in them, not the BHB. But I think your body starts to ramp up ketones pretty naturally by day 3 into day 4, that it could be overkill. So over time, I've never used those. Do you guys use exogenous ketones at all with yourself or the people you're helping with fasts? Lindsay?
Yeah, exactly what you said, Jimmy. You're exactly right. I recommend them for those that are trying to transition. And those that are insulin resistant may really struggle with getting those ketones above the 0.5 and into a ketogenic state. And so that can be a great way to start that segue. But it can be also dangerous because we need to remember that ketones are present when insulin is down.
Yes.
And so if we're eating a high carbohydrate diet or our blood sugar is out of control and then we're just adding ketones, that's not the way that the body naturally does things. And so it can be a good bridge for those that are just starting out, but it's not recommended. If you know you can get into ketosis, it's recommended to let your body do what it does best.
Also, the next question I have is taking electrolytes in your water while you're fasting.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, that's what the fasting drops we were just talking about has: concentrated sodium and concentrated magnesium. It's why we've been talking about making sure you have salt and you're kind of sprinkling it underneath your tongue. That's where Dr. Caitlin talked about having the rock salt and just kind of letting it ooze like a piece of candy in your mouth. All of those things are wonderful ideas as you're hydrating.
Okay, I was just checking because I
Yep.
do take the exogenous ketones and they do help with appetite suppression.
Well, good.
I feel.
Yeah.
And also energy, and so I was just wondering, on this 7-day fast that you guys are talking about, if
Right.
it was okay.
Well,
you know what I mean.
My only concern about that, and I'm interested, Caitlin, if you have any comments on this, if you take exogenous ketones in the midst of a fast, are you downregulating your body's endogenous ability to make ketones if you're taking them externally?
Yeah, that's one of my concerns, and unfortunately there's no research that I've been able to find that will tell us, but much like what Lindsay said, my concern with exogenous ketones, so I personally don't use them, is that if you're not getting into a ketotic state, your body's not making ketones, it's not making them for a reason, and it's likely because your insulin is still staying high for whatever reason that is. There is an underlying cause. And so when we have elevated insulin and now we're taking a ketone body, what's happening is we're putting ourselves in a state in which it's not natural. Like we should never have elevated ketones and elevated insulin at the same time. So I don't know the long-term ramifications of doing that. My other concern is if we always use crutches, we're never forcing our body to adapt the way that it can adapt.
Yeah.
So potentially in the very beginning, if you're really, really struggling in the salts and the minerals aren't enough, one, I'm going to recommend that you work with somebody to work through the insulin resistant component, but then two, they can help monitor and manage your blood sugar and ketone levels through testing and potentially incorporate some of the exogenous ketones, but they're not my favorite.
The other issue in this is what's in there besides the BHB salts. And so if you've never had just straight up BHB salts, I have. They're disgusting. They are so gross. And if you have the ketone esters, it's even worse. And I've used both of those products. They have to use so many kind of other ingredients to kind of hide that flavor. They also use sweeteners in there, so that could stoke some hunger and cravings in the midst of it. Even though you're getting the satiating effects from the ketones, it might be counterbalanced by these other things that they're putting in there as well. So if you can try the water, Teresa, I think that is the ultimate goal.
Okay, alrighty. Well, thank you. I was just curious about it because, like I said, I have been taking them, and I've lost like 80 pounds. They've been working.
Yeah, congratulations. I think it's wonderful. And if it's worked for you, then definitely congratulations, and don't beat yourself up because they worked. But like Dr. Caitlin said, what?
Actually, I'm no longer a type 2 diabetic. And
Woohoo! What's your A1C?
With the keto lifestyle, it's just really changed.
What is your A1C now?
My A1C, I'm not sure because I haven't had it checked recently.
I got you. What was it when you were, quote, no longer diabetic? What was it then?
Well, this is the thing. I check my blood sugar every day.
Okay, well, blood sugar doesn't tell you if you're not diabetic or not. It's good that you got your blood sugar under control. Definitely get your A1C if you want to verify that you are actually no longer.
I have to have that checked. I haven't had that checked recently, but my doctor did take me off of metformin.
Okay, that's good.
Because of the way my blood sugar was running.
That's a big deal because doctors.
I gotta have it checked recently.
Yeah.
In the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna have it checked.
That's a big deal because doctors don't pull patients off of medications willy-nilly. So that's good. Congratulations, Teresa, by the way.
My doctor is all about the ketogenic lifestyle.
Very good.
She's just really thinking that I've, done the best thing I could do for my body, and I have to agree.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, what a great way to...
Thank you for letting me speak. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. And that's a great way to end this marathon session. I was not planning on going 2 hours, but Lindsay and Caitlin, I think that's just indicative of the interest there is in this subject of fasting. So thank you so much, you guys. Definitely go follow Lindsay, Caitlin up here on the stage. And I think they're going to try to join me when you can this week. But I'll be back every single day this week, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, as we go along this 7 days of fasting. Maybe you heard something that made you go, maybe I want to give that a go. Please do. And even if you start and you come back tomorrow and you haven't started yet, it's okay. Start when you want. The fun part is you get to hear us in real time talk about what it's like. So, Lindsay, any final thoughts or comments?
Thanks, Jimmy, for hosting a great room. So many good questions and great information. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And Caitlin?
Yeah, I'm just glad that you're bringing awareness to the importance of fasting and creating that community, because it's so much easier to do something new when there's a group of people, because nobody wants to struggle alone. And it doesn't mean that you have to struggle, but, great job. And it's awesome that you're also streaming this on Instagram just to reach more people. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. And yes, that stream will go up on IGTV just as soon as this is over. So if you popped in the room late and you're like, what are they talking about? Wow, I missed all the good info. No, you didn't. Go back and watch the IGTV, the username on Instagram, Jimmy on Clubhouse. Make it real easy to find. It's also on YouTube if you look up Jimmy on Clubhouse. So I'll probably air some of these on my podcast as well. That's what I do is content. I can make it and put it everywhere. So thank you guys for being here. And get out there, keep fasting, keep your chin up, and you will do well. We'll be back again at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. This is Keto for the Soul. Definitely hit that green box, a little greenhouse at the top. Join the room, and we'll see you guys around the clubhouse.